Chapter 53 of the Tao Te Ching, pronounced Tao Te Ching, is a short passage about a very specific kind of rot, not the rot of collapse, but the rot of excess sitting beside emptiness. It asks, when the path is right there, broad and smooth, why do people take the narrow roads instead? Shiwo jai ron yu jai xing yu da dao wei shi shi wai, da dao shen yi, air min hao jing, ko shen chu, tian shen wu, cāng shen zu, fu wan kai, dai lai jian, yan yin shi, kai hu yu yu, shuai dao kua, fei dao I zai. If I had even a sliver of understanding, I would walk the great way, and my only fear would be straying from it. The great way is wide and level, yet people prefer the side paths. The courts are immaculate, the fields are choked with weeds, the granaries stand empty, they wear embroidered robes and carry sharp swords. They stuff themselves with food and drink, and hold wealth beyond what they can use. This is called theft dressed as grandeur. It is not the way. The chapter opens with something unusual, the speaker positioning themselves inside the difficulty. If I had a sliver of understanding, not if others had it, not if you would listen. The author steps into the human condition of partial knowing. Even with a little understanding, you would walk the wide road. The hard part is not the path itself. The Tao, the great way, is described as level, smooth, easy to traverse. The hard part is choosing it. Then comes the image of the bypaths. The word used, jìng, suggests narrow trails, shortcuts that cut through what shouldn't be cut through. People don't take them because they're better. They take them because they feel more deliberate, more clever, more like an active choice. There is something in us that distrusts ease. The broad road can feel like no road at all. The second movement is where the passage gets uncomfortable. Laozi, the name traditionally attached to this text, though its authorship is ancient and uncertain, points at a specific scene: courts gleaming, swords polished, clothes bright, and right next to this, fields abandoned, grain stores hollow. This is not metaphor. He is naming a recognizable arrangement. Those at the center of power consuming far more than their share while the margin deteriorates. The granary is empty, not because there was drought, because it was drained. The phrase that concludes this is Chinese letter, Dao Kue. Literally, bandit boasting, or theft dressed as glory. The people described aren't skulking, they're parading. The sword is sharp and visible. The robes are fine and worn openly. The excess is displayed, not hidden. This is not the crime of concealment. It is the crime of normalization, of making theft look like the natural order of things, like what power simply looks like. The final line is blunt. Fei dao I zai. This is not the way. It lands almost like a door closing. What does someone take from this today? Not a policy brief, not a checklist, something more like a question to bring back to one's own life. The wide road and the narrow path exist at every scale. An organization can have a clear and honest way of operating, and then develop a side path, some workaround that becomes entrenched, that everyone knows isn't right but that no one names. A person can know, more or less, what a good use of their energy looks like, and still spend months on the bypaths because those feel more effortful, more like striving. The courts and granaries image is not only about the powerful, it describes the internal landscape too. The part of ourselves that is brilliantly maintained, carefully presented, and the part that is quietly starving. The embroidered robe and the empty granary can exist in the same person. What Laozi doesn't offer here is a solution. He names the pattern. The naming itself seems to be the point. When something is called theft dressed as grandeur, it becomes harder to mistake it for anything else. The great way is wide and smooth. That fact doesn't guarantee anyone walks it. The next chapter is 54.